Hello and welcome to Weird Christianity, where three friends share three facts.
Three friends, Peter. What is this? Can you count?
There are two of us, and I think we got 5 seconds in before I was cut off. There are two of us. Over one lunchtime, we are going to share some facts. This is brought to you by YMCA Exeter. And around the table, you've already introduced yourself. Jeremy.
I'm Jeremy. I've been here for quite a while now.
And I am Pete. As I say, we're both coming from YMCA Exeter. Jeremy, without further fuss, I would propose, there's two of us here, we've both got facts to share about Christianity, about the Bible. Coin flip. Who wants to go first? Heads or tails?
I would go for heads.
Heads. All right. Here we go. There is a coin here, everyone.
Statistically, I've got
heads. He's done it.
There we go. I've done it. I've done it.
So does that mean you're first?
That means that I am first, indeed. So my fact for today, and before I start, normally we are three people, but sadly, due to people taking time off, part-timers, and some people being ill, i.e. losing their voice, we are only two today. So Peter and I are in the house.
Ready to go.
And my fact today is that the throne of Satan / the gate of hell are in Berlin, Germany.
Boom. Hang on. The throne of Satan is in Berlin, Germany.
Exactly. I'll just leave it there for a second.
Great. Yeah.
Or not.
Yes.
So the idea is that in Revelation 2, there is a mention of the throne of Satan, gate of hell, and that particular gate, that particular edifice has been found and moved to the Berlin Museum.
This is the part of Revelation where you get all those letters to the different churches.
Yep, the weird part of the Bible where it just go crazy.
Well, I was going to say, this is the only part of Revelation a lot of churches teach on, because it's the bit that makes the most sense. They're just the nice letters. Then it kind of goes off grid. Okay, so we've got a letter written, and this is to Pergamon, isn't it? Where the throne of Satan is mentioned.
Yeah, there we go. So Pergamon, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah. It's been moved to Germany. I've went to see it. It's so you enter that museum and you see it's humongous. It's really, really big. What we didn't realize is that as we visited the rest of the museum, there is also a Babylonian gate, entirely blue. And those are the gates where Daniel would have gone through, which is hilarious because Daniel is another book in the Bible where it goes quite weird as well.
Who's the link? Weird books, mentions of gates. I don't know if that's a biblical theme.
There we go. Yeah. It's just like...
So I've just pulled up Revelation 2. This is verse 13 and 14. It says this: I know where you dwell, where Satan's throne is, and yet you hold fast to my name, and you did not deny my faith. What? And other than a gate in Berlin, what is the throne of Satan? Do we know? This sounds pretty weird.
So it's about a temple. It's a temple for gods and things like that. And people were going there, and there were a lot of weird stuff happening that we can't mention due to censorship. Gate of hell, Satan. But in all fairness, I was just attracted by the fact that it was just the gate of hell. So I looked at.
Well, different people like different things.
It's just like
you're into your gates of hell.
Yeah, so I went and searched the gates of hells around the world.
Nice, sounds like a nice holiday.
Yeah, just like holiday places you want to go. Gate of hell. It's a new way of doing things.
Guys, if you are concerned for Jeremy, please do write in.
I haven't visited them yet.
What's interesting though, before you dive into some of these gates, is this idea of Satan being this hyper evil character.
Yeah.
Because we joke about going on a nice holiday tour of the gates of hell and talk about Satan, but Satan hasn't always been understood as a bad figure. And we've talked about this off podcast in places like Job, the book of Job, where you have this person, Satan, coming in as a character. And we kind of initially read that and we go, this is talking about the devil. This is like an awful person. But what's fascinating is the word that's used there, Hasatan, it means the accuser. And it's describing a role more than like an individual person. And that role, similar idea to like devil's advocate, is kings back then would have on their like advisory panel. It's a bit like the setup at the start of Job. You've got this council with the divine council. Well, kings would have on their advisory panel someone who would play the role of Satan, and the king would say, I'm going to go and attack these people. And the Satan, his job would be to kind of pick holes in the king's plan. It's like, well, they've got more archers than you. Well, you haven't thought about this. So that the king could make sure he had a good plan.
So when someone mentioned the word Satan, I automatically go to Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, you're right.
And there is Mr. Satan. He's got nothing to do with Satan. He's just not a devil character. He doesn't have any horns or anything like that. He's just a Magnum PI mustache guy.
Well, I can't say that that's exactly what I think of myself, but numbers. The story of Balaam with the donkey, talking donkey.
Yeah, doesn't sound like Eddie Murphy, apparently.
No, I love that. What a film, by the way.
Are we there yet? Balaam, are we there yet?
Yeah, that's when did it stop talking? But the angel of the Lord stands as a Satan against Balaam, and so he's an adversary, and it uses the same word Satan. So it's this idea of Satan being bad wasn't really you see it developed throughout Scripture. Certainly, by the time you get to Revelation, throne of Satan, pretty bad.
There is certainly an evolution. I mean, in the Old Testament, what we would regard as Satan now is more Lucifer. Lucifer, the fallen angel, the angel of light. That is what we have in the Old Testament. Then other names come in. I think it's probably more a language thing. So in the time of Jesus, Greek was one of the language spoken, but Jesus would have spoken an Aramaic dialect. So you have all those words that just come in and sip in the place, and then and then it just kind of Satan becomes that word. But then we come into the 21st century with those things. We just kind of we place Satan as a substitute for Lucifer, for Mephistopheles, and all those other terms that are used in popular culture to call the devil. But yeah, they have different roles, and they might be different people in the Bible. I mean, it's a study in itself.
There we go. Bonus episode. We'll have to look at that. But here's an interesting one. Devil's advocate. That phrase. You know where that comes from? In the Catholic Church.
Boom, boom. The Catholic Church is back.
If someone wants to be like the process of canonization involves recognizing a person.
So canonization is that when someone is thought to be a really good person and they want to make them a saint.
They want to they aren't like shot from a cannon or something. Yeah. If you want to make them a saint, as a part of the process, and if someone is appointed to argue against that person being canonized, and they're called a promotor fidei, which is like promoter of the faith. Their whole job is to basically just rip into this person and say why they shouldn't be a saint. And it's meant to make the process more fair.
That is interesting. There is a podcast actually that I know of where they just, where they're talking about the negatives about good people. Yeah. I think Mahatma Gandhi was at the end of that very program portrays as an evil person. You know what I mean? It's like, it depends what angle you're looking at.
Yeah, I know a few people that would be good at that job.
So in order to get the halo, you need to have a password, and the password is then therefore given by this group of people, and one of them is a devil. Is that what you're saying?
Not quite. Not quite, but I think there's some interesting stuff in there. Promoter of the faith became referred to colloquially as devil's advocate.
Why not? I mean, the devil in popular culture is an interesting one in many ways. But before we go too deep into this, I'd like to just mention a few gates. There is one in China. Where you go through and you go through and you meet ghosts. There is a lot of devil gates in Asia, but the best one is in Turkmenistan, and it's basically a pool of fire, and that is the gate of hell.
So this is a volcano.
Not quite. So basically, it's called a mistake. American came to Turkmenistan, find a gas thing, and then they started to drill. And they made a mistake and accidentally just kind of drilled through a pocket of gas.
I'm getting Stranger Things vibes.
Caught fire.
We've opened the dimension to the underworld.
Basically, that's the idea. But the drill is still there in the fire. No one can go and get it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not paying them enough. I'm like, if that's me, I'm thinking, leave the drill. Honestly, I won't come in on Monday.
Someone thought, do you know what? We'll set fire to it. It will stop. It will just kind of at some point extinguish. It's been going on for since 1971.
Well, because that's a famous technique used to get rid of your issues. So there we go. That was your fact. Go on, tell us what was it again?
The gate of hell. So the seat of Satan and / the gate of hell is in Berlin, Germany.
On to my fact for today. And my fact is that the Lord's Prayer tells us to ask for our daily bread, but we don't actually know what the word daily means.
Sorry. So you come in this podcast, and your first fact that you bring is basically destroying this very well-known ideas that daily bread is not daily.
I should say, we know what the word daily means. It means every day.
Yeah, I understand what the word daily means, and that's what I thought it meant.
All right, let me explain. Have you seen University Challenge? You may have known a famous clip where someone was asked a question: "What Greek phrase appears only once?" And he shouts, "Hapax legomenon." That phrase, hapax legomenon, which was popularized by University Challenge, it means a phrase that appears only once. The Bible, which was written in a series of different languages, but the New Testament primarily in Greek, it contains several hapax legomena, i.e. words that we don't have them appear anywhere else. So this word daily, when we get to the Lord's Prayer, it says, give us our daily bread. Epiousios, that's the Greek word for daily. That word doesn't appear anywhere else in our entire record of any Greek literature. So this is like within the Bible, or without, outside of the Bible. That word just doesn't come up anywhere else at all. And I lie, it's not technically a hapax legomenon because it does appear twice, but both in the Lord's Prayer, both in the Bible. So that doesn't really help us understand what it means. So there we go. What does it mean?
So what does it mean? Does it mean daily, or does it mean something else?
Well, does it mean daily? Obviously, some people think it means daily. Hence, in the majority of your Bibles, English translations, they will translate that word epiousios as daily. But obviously, because we don't know what it means, scholars have been trying to work this out for a good while. The confusion is that every other time the New Testament uses the word daily, it includes the word hemera, which is day. So there is already a word for daily that people use. That is a perfectly good word.
So you're telling me that Jesus invented a word? People, Peter is saying that Jesus invented a word. A little bit like Shakespeare invented words such as panda, rant, remorseless. Those are words that Shakespeare invented. I didn't realize that Jesus invented
was
one.
The original word inventor. Original
Shakespeare.
If anyone has permission to invent words, it would certainly be Jesus. But when you do get to a word and you go, I have no other context for how this is used, then the obvious question is, how do you work out what it means?
So hang on. So when you say there are no other contexts, so it's not only within the Bible, it's also outside the Bible. So we have also literature from the time, which are things like shopping lists and things like that. We've got a lot of words that are there, but
Greek
that
classics.
particular word, epiousium, is not found anywhere else to be able to enable a translator to give good translation of it. Is that what you're...
Yeah, I mean, all of the Greek classics, all of everything we've got. Interestingly, you mentioned shopping list. There was another supposed instance of this word, epiousion, that came to light in an Egyptian papyrus dated back to the 5th century, which contained a shopping list. So we had this shopping list, and the word transcribed as epiousi was reported as being used next to the names of just several like shopping list items.
Oh yeah, I heard of that.
Yeah, so they thought, this would indicate that we've got another use of this word. That would suggest it means it was used in the sense of like enough for today, enough for tomorrow, necessary. So it would support this kind of thought of daily bread.
So it was fig, epiousios.
Yeah, olive oil, whatever you buy back on your grocery shopping back then. However, this papyrus went missing for many years. They refound it in a library in 1998, and they re-examined it. And this is when you've had a bad day at work. You feel pretty embarrassed. They re-examined it, and after all this groundbreaking work, they realised, actually, that doesn't say epiousi. You just misread it. It's a completely different word. It's actually just the word for oil. And it was just a shopping list.
So basically what happened is that this guy probably realised he made a mistake and just go, oh, yeah, I was right, but I've lost the list. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, we found it in Yale Library. Oh, no. Did you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you? Oh, well, I need to go. I've got holiday books.
So it meant we were no closer to understanding what that word might mean. So you use what's called a morphological analysis, which means you basically break down the word. We use this in English. Unhappiness. If you use the morphological analysis, you break that down into un, which is a prefix that is negation or reversal. Happy, root word, basic meaning of joy, contentment. Ness, that would be the suffix. So that would convert the adjective into a noun.
But what I found is that this could be a neologism, and I think I like that. So neologism is when
I'm going to say I don't know what that word means.
So neologism is when you put two words together to make one. So smoke and fog, smog. Breakfast and lunch, brunch. Spoon and fork, spork.
Right, yeah. All the classics, none of which feature in Greek literature.
No, but I think they should. Fairness, it's like, so those are kind of contemporary neologism, but that could be one of them as well. It's just like two words they put together. They just kind of took the first part of one word and the second part of another to just kind of mean something.
Let me go on to share, because I like that idea. Let me share a few options, because I certainly don't want people listening to go, oh no, the Lord's Prayer, we don't understand it. The thing to note is we don't know that it means daily. And in fact, lots of modern scholars don't think it means daily because there's another word for daily. But let's go through, here's some possible renderings, some possible interpretations. Of course, the common one is daily. Provide us our daily bread. That interpretation views the term as related to epi in epiousion. Epi means upon, and ousia is like being or substance. Necessary, that's another interpretation. Necessary bread, a bit like that shopping list. But here's the one I like, and it's similar to your smog, spork idea. Super substantial.
What a flipping word.
Yeah.
This comes from Jerome, isn't it? The guy who translated the Vulgate, I think, is just like super substantial. Why make it easy when you can make it complicated? You know what I mean?
Exactly. In fact, there is in textual analysis, there is a kind of approach that people use, which is the Latin is like lectio difficilior or something. It means difficult reading. And the idea is that if there are two variations of a text, the one that makes the least sense is more likely to be true because it's less likely that someone would have changed it to something that doesn't make sense.
It's quite, there is, in translation, there is all this a counterintuitive thing, isn't it? It's just like, well, if two texts are together, then the more likely is that they are being written and they are describing the same thing is if they are complete differences in the text. So, which is a bit weird one, because many people have argued that the Bible is full of those differences, therefore it's false. But people also have used exactly the same thing to say it is true. So, or it's false because there is not enough of those differences. What's interesting in translation is that one cannot translate literally or word for word automatically, because otherwise it would not make sense. So, example, you've got grandchildren in England. Mm-hmm. If I was to translate it in French, I would use the term petit enfant, which literally means little children. So the entirely opposite. It means the same thing. It describes exactly the same people, but
grand little, yes.
Yeah, grand little. But again, if you look at expression, when you've got other things to do, you have other fish to fry. If we were to translate that literally into French, which is d'autres poissons à frire, for the French francophone out there.
I knew that, yeah.
Then that wouldn't make any sense for the French people, because we use the expression "other cat to whip."
Yes.
So RSPCA is not right happy about that. We're working with them to change that expression. Cats, yeah. No real cats have been hurt during this expression giving.
That we're aware of.
That we are aware of.
So as I say, going back to the super substantial, the word epiousion, if you break it down morphologically, epi means upon or over. Ousia means being or something substance. So you can kind of get this, it's above substance, it's supernatural or super substantial. I really like that idea because I think the Lord's Prayer, the whole thing is like a throwback to Exodus. So just as God provided supernatural bread in manna for them while they were in the wilderness, Jesus is reminding us of that and saying, pray for our super substantial bread.
So for people who are not as well versed in the Bible as some others, the Bible is a collection of 66 different books. Biblia is a term for a library almost. It can be translated as a library, a collection of books. So it goes in sequence, and Exodus is one of those books, and it talks mainly of the people of Israel moving from the land of Egypt to what is called the Promised Land, and hence the expression going to the Promised Land and all the things about Promised Land that is biblical from the book of Exodus, which literally means the movement of a group of people to another place.
Yeah, and Jesus comes in and says, just like I rescued those people from a physical oppression, so I'm going to rescue you spiritually. And so here's how you ought to pray. Pray that just like God provided then, he'd provide now. Anyway, super substantial. That is my fact, which is we don't really know what that word daily means.
But you're probably right by calling it daily. Or super substantial.
Super substantial. You'll get some funny looks if you read that out loud. But there we go.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Please do find us on Instagram as @WeirdChristianity, WeirdXinity on Twitter, and @WeirdChristianityPod on Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe on your favourite podcast provider. And don't forget, you can find out more about YMCA Exeter at ymcaexeter.org.uk or find us on social media at YMCA Exeter. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Goodbye. The weirdest part of this is that one person has asked me how to spell YMCA once. I mean, that was special.
It's Y then MCA, if you're wondering.
If you're wondering.
Yeah.
Bye.